Speaking Myanmar, Lessons for English-Speaking Learners, and Particles. In this lesson, we'll discuss the particles that are used in place of the English word and, a way of joining two parts of a sentence together. And there's going to be two we'll discuss in this lesson. The placement is actually pretty easy for these particles. Lastly, you'll learn how to know which particle to use. There's one basic rule we're going to discuss to follow. So here are the two particles. The first is pronounced ne, and the second pi or b. Now let's look at 4 examples of sentences that use the word and. Now 2 of these sentences use the ne particle and 2 use the pb particle. Let's look at each sentence and see if you can figure out when to use each. So our first sentence is John and William went to the store. In Myanmar, it's John ne William sango tuagere. Now the great news here is that the word for and is located in the same position in Myanmar as it is in English. In this case, between John and William. This next sentence, they went to the store and bought a book. It uses a different particle, but the placement within the sentence is once again the same as in English. We're connecting the ideas of going to the store and buying a book. So to translate it literally, they, store two, went and a book bought, with the verb, as it always is, at the end of the sentence. The third sentence takes us back to our first particle. They also bought a table and chair. In Myanmar, it would read, Turoga sabuene kalatain delon le wekere. So once again, to transliterate it, we're saying they, a table, and chair also bought. So the and appears in the same location as it would in an English sentence. Now our last sentence uses that second particle we've discussed, be or be. They returned home and read the book. In Myanmar, Turo Impian Labi Sao Pakere. Once again, we're connecting the ideas of returning home and reading a book with the word and. Once again, in the same position as in the English language. Now, have you figured out how to know which particle to use? Well, let's look again at all of them together. Okay, here are our 4 sentences and the particle each uses for the word and. So in the first example, what 2 things are we connecting with the word and? Yes, John and William. And those are 2 nouns. But in our next sentence, what are we connecting with the word and? Not 2 things, but 2 different actions or verbs. They went and bought. In the third example, we're connecting the words table and chair, and those are 2 things, or nouns. Lastly, the 2 verbs connected here in this sentence are returned and read. So there it is. When you're connecting 2 nouns or things, you use that first particle, ne. When you have 2 different actions in a sentence, use that be particle. And remember, in Myanmar, verbs and adjectives are treated in much the same way. So 2 adjectives would be connected with this particle. Now, normally this be particle is used when one action follows the first. So let's look. They went to the store and bought a book. See, they bought a book after they went to the store. Or they returned home and read the book. So after they returned home, they read the book. So what might help you to decide whether to use this particle is if you can say and then instead of just and. So they returned home and then read the book. They went to the store and then bought a book. It won't work when you're connecting two things, but it makes sense when you're connecting two actions. Okay, so let's do a little quiz. So in this exercise, we're going to look at 5 sentences and try to choose the correct particle to use for each. Remember, ne connects two things, and be or be connects two actions or verbs. So let's look at our first example. I bought a shirt and tie. Which particle do you think we should use? Yes, it's the ne particle because two things are being connected together here. Okay, let's look at our next sentence. He ate a sandwich and potato chips. Which particle should we use? Yep, that's right. Once again, those are two things, a sandwich and potato chips. So we use the ne particle. Let's try our third sentence. I ate a pizza and drank a beer. Now be careful, this is a little bit tricky. You see, in this case, we're going to use the second particle, be or be, because we're not connecting pizza and beer. We're connecting eating and drinking. I ate and drank. So we would use the be particle. In our fourth sentence, she lost her purse and keys. Which particle do you think we should use? Well, since it's two things she lost, a purse and keys, we'd use the ne particle. Let's look at our last sentence. He was tired and hungry. Okay, now, why did we use this particle? These are not verbs, but they're adjectives. They're handled the same way as verbs. So we would use the be particle. Now let's review this lesson. In the way of review then, the two particles that are used for the English word and are ne and be or be. These two particles both mean and. Now they're placed in a sentence in basically the same position as in English. Here's the difference between the two. The first particle, ne, is used with nouns and pronouns. Be is the particle used with verbs and adjectives. And that'll do it for this lesson.